It's My Baby Experts, and I am your host, Sherry Creaso, and we are here for another exciting episode. So let me not wait any longer and introduce our very special guest to you tonight. Tonight, I have with me Sarah Tilton, and Sarah is a car seat. She's a child passenger safety advocate for Britex, and I have Sarah here. She's been an active CPS technician since 2002, an instructor since 2004, and she's also the spokesperson for Britex on all their installation, and she's here with us on the phone. Sarah, can you hear me?
I can, Sherry. Thank you very much for having me tonight. I'm very excited to be part of this event.
Oh, thank you so much, Sarah. I was so excited to hear that you were going to do the show with me, because I just know how much knowledge and information that you have, and how much my audience is so wanting to learn everything about this particular topic.
Great.
Yeah.
I think we have a lot of good information to share with them this evening.
We definitely do. In fact, so much so that when I first spoke to Sarah, I said, we have to do an hour and a half, Sarah, because I just have a feeling that we're going to have a lot to talk about. So we're not in a huge rush tonight. We're going to be able to show lots of videos and really go over the most important things that everybody needs to learn and know. So that's fantastic. So let's start. If you could just could you tell everybody a little bit about your background just quickly, just so they understand what that means to be certified the way you are?
Well, to become a child passenger safety technician, you originally, back when I became a technician, I went through a 5-day, 40-hour training class that was book education, hands-on education with car seats of all manufacturers. I then had to go through some, be a technician for a certain amount of time, go through some additional education and training, do some mentoring to become an instructor. Yeah. And now I'm required not only to do so many car seat installations and work public events, but I also have to do so many hours of teaching on a every 2-year basis to make sure that I retain and continue my knowledge in the field.
I guess things change every year, and they change all the time. The technology, the recommendations. So I guess that you do need to keep up and make sure that we're always in the forefront of it.
You say every year. I've been with Britex almost 10 years now, and the federal standard that governs car seats has changed 3 times.
Wow.
Since I've been there.
Yeah.
Technology, just what manufacturers put out in the field, change maybe several times a year.
Yes.
Depending if you look at all the manufacturers.
And I guess that's a really good thing, because we keep learning to what we can do to make it better and safer and more protective. So it's a good thing that they're working on it to keep changing it.
Well, and it is. If we, think about automobiles, and many of us purchase new automobiles, some of us purchase them every a few years. We have a certain pattern because we want to make sure we have the most current technology in our vehicles, whether
Yes.
it's side curtain airbags or other safety features.
Yes.
Child restraints, car seats are much the same way. If, we don't want to use them past the expiration date or the recommended use, because one of the reasons is to ensure that you're protecting your child, your second child, your third child, with the most current technology.
That's such a, and it's actually, we're skipping forward, but as you're bringing up the topic, let's talk about it for a minute. Lots of people will continue to use the same car seats they used with their older children 8, 9 years ago, or take a borrowed car seat from somebody, something that you would not recommend, correct?
For the most part, yes. All child restraints have different have different expiration dates or discontinue use dates, and that really varies based on model and each child restraint manufacturer.
Gotcha.
There is a new one on the market today by another company that goes up to 10 years. Some of our products go as high as 9.
Yes.
There are some as low as 5. So it's very important to check.
Where would somebody look up their car seat to be able to see that? Through the manufacturer's websites?
Depending on, again, the manufacturer, you might find it on a white manufacturer label attached to the car seat.
Okay.
Some car seat manufacturers actually mold it right into the seat shell.
Okay.
And others will give a certain amount of years in the user guide that is provided with the car seat.
Gotcha. And what makes the car seat expire? Is it the technology, or is it something about the straps or the way the seat functions that no longer is good after a certain point?
Well, it's plastic does degrade over time, is one of the reasons.
Gotcha.
And what car seat manufacturers do is something called accelerated life testing. And so if we are designing a seat and we say we think we want this seat to be able to be used for 9 years.
Yes.
The accelerated environmental chamber testing that we do would simulate that amount of time.
Gotcha.
We don't simulate or know what's going to happen beyond that time frame.
Gotcha. So there's just there's no information because it hasn't been tested, and therefore we're not sure if it's safe or not. Clear.
Correct.
It's clear.
So then when you put on top of that the concern about the degradation of plastic,
yes,
wanting to make sure you have new or newer technology, obviously than was out 10 years ago.
Gotcha. Yeah. It seems like when we talk about we talk about so many things, but specifically when we talk about gear and having to do with different strollers and carriers and things when it comes to our children, the car seats have to be the most important thing that people need to be paying attention to. Buying the right one, making sure that it's installed properly, making sure that it's not expired. I mean, this is a matter of life and death. And so we need to be most careful with this particular aspect of what we buy for our child.
Very true, very true. And unfortunately, we tend to get so excited when we find out we're pregnant. We want to know if it's a boy or a girl and what color we're going to decorate the nursery.
Yes.
And sometimes car seats are a lower priority. They happen much later in the planning stage, almost at the last minute.
Yep. And it really needs to be one of the highest priorities. And anyone who's been in a car accident would tell you where their child was saved because of a car seat will tell you that was their most important product that they ever purchased for their child.
Yes.
So the statistics are pretty alarming. 3 out of 4 car seats are incorrect. Is that true?
That is a national statistic.
Yeah.
Depending on the area that you live, it may be higher or lower, just based on your community. In our local area, in the Charlotte-Mecklenburg area, the last time statistics were taken by our Safe Kids Coalition, it was in the low 90 percentile of car seats that were observed had misuse.
Wow.
Now, that misuse can be anything from not only the car seat installed into the vehicle, but the child secured in the car seat, or even maybe simply just the wrong car seat for that particular child's size, age, weight, height, etc.
Right. There's so many different ways that mistakes can be made that could be a problem. You know, one of the things that I just, and I see it all the time here in my store and with my clients that come in for consultations, I would say that at least half come in with their baby not strapped into the car seat properly. Or if I was to walk out to the car, I could see that the seat itself or the base itself is not strapped properly. And it just makes me crazy because I think to myself, there should be some kind of education for parents beyond just having to, I remember years ago, as a nurse, we would be at least checking to make sure that the baby was tightened properly. Isn't there a way that we could be teaching nurses or doctors or pediatricians to be examining this so that moms and dads could learn how to do it properly?
If you're an expectant parent, check with the hospital, first of all, that you're delivering at.
Yeah.
Many hospitals offer what I call a car seat basic class or an expectant parent car seat class. I teach one here locally.
Oh, great.
but they offer them typically free of charge, just like you would take baby CPR or a breastfeeding class.
Yes, yes.
Those classes typically, depending on who's doing them, are about 2 hours long. They'll talk about some basics. We actually end our class by going out to your car and helping you install the car seat that you're going to bring the baby home in.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. So many times around here, what we hear is that nobody would look. They told me it was a liability, and so I had to leave and figure it out for myself. So what you're saying is this is not something you should be waiting to figure out when you're leaving the hospital with a newborn, but you should be taking care. You should be looking at it sooner, like when you're expecting and planning for it like you would with any other class.
Yes, and most parents will come through our class when they're about 7 months.
Yeah.
Some actually attend wanting to see what other people bought for car seats because they haven't decided what to buy yet.
That's great.
The one also important thing to note is that when you mentioned, waiting until you're coming home from the hospital to secure your child and proper installation, note that it really varies from hospital to hospital. If those nurses can touch your child in a car seat,
yes,
or even touch the car seat in the vehicle,
yes,
and that's really a liability issue with the hospital. So don't always count on they're going to be able to help me, because they may not.
Yeah, I would absolutely not count on that, and at least call ahead to find out what they offer. Like you said, in your hospital where you teach your class, it's so great that you do that. And I'm sure there are ways that we can find out in all areas where they offer that kind of program.
Well, and then so check with your hospital. The second location I would go to is if you go to safekids.org,
okay,
you can look up Safe Kids Coalition by state, and then they're listed by city.
Yep.
So you could contact your local Safe Kids Coalition.
Okay.
To see if they offer any program.
Yes.
Or maybe they're just going to have a local car seat check that you can go and get your car seat installation checked before you deliver.
Yes.
Often they will have little baby dolls that if you're expectant, they're going to pull that baby doll out and they're going to make sure that you know how to properly secure that baby doll in your car seat.
Like the one behind me here on the screen, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Did anybody think I had a real baby here? The car seat looked cuter with the baby installed, so.
Exactly.
That's really great. So you said safekids.org?
Yes.
Safekids.org. Okay, great. Fantastic. Sarah, let's go over some of the 4 key safety points that, what are the main points that we want to always remember when we're talking about our children in the car?
Well, we want to make sure that we're using the right car seat for the child.
Yep.
Based on the child's age and, weight.
Yes.
And height.
Yes. Not
necessarily age. Age is more appropriate, specifically when we're talking about rear facing.
Yes.
But we want to make sure we're using the right seat for the child, the fitment, that it can be installed in the appropriate direction for that child.
Yes. We
want to make sure that we are properly securing the child in the car seat. So are we tightening the harness around the child tight enough? About 60% of parents do not tighten their harness enough.
Yes.
I always tell parents, pull that harness until you feel guilty.
That's a good,
and pull it one more time.
Yeah.
Because you want to be in the 40%, not the 60%.
Yeah.
You want to make sure you're getting that car seat installed in the vehicle tight enough. So depending on which direction, but any harnessed car seat, once it's properly installed, you should not be able to move it more than 1 inch left or right.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yep. And making sure, obviously, some obvious things like the child needs to be in the back seat all the time, every time, and they need to be in their car seats all the time, every time, no matter whether you're going down the street or, right? Because these are some of the things that you'll hear people say, well, I always make sure when we're on the highway, we go into a car seat the right way, but we're just going down to the neighbor. Some of the worst accidents can happen real close to home. Isn't that true?
That is correct. A lot of the accidents happen within about a 5-mile radius of home.
Yep.
We tend to think, oh, I'm going to travel for the holidays. We get a lot of requests for car seat installations and seat checks because they're going on a road trip. Well, the important thing to know is that when you're traveling on a highway, you have there's no stop signs, there's no stop lights, there's much less distraction. The more dangerous crashes happen on our inner city streets. We get distracted. So again, supporting that, they happen very close to home.
So you've got to make sure that you're always being careful. I always say to parents, car seats are not for driving, car seats are for crashing. And you never know when that's going to happen, and so you always want to be prepared. You can't take a chance that something could happen and you didn't do it right.
Yes. So. And they are a one-time use. You talk about always using the car seat, always in the back seat, and that kind of brings into the picture law versus best practice. There are many out there, unfortunately, who believe that as long as I'm following the law, my child, I'm going to be safe. Well, there's unfortunately car seat laws is not a national law. Each state has its own laws. There is still a state whose car seat law only covers children until their 4th birthday.
Right.
And then it says that they can go in a vehicle seatbelt. That's just crazy.
Wow.
I'm barely 5 foot tall, and in some vehicles, honestly, my lap and shoulder belt does not fit me appropriately, just because of the way the vehicle seat is and the vehicle seatbelt is anchored.
I just put up a map of the United States with child restraint laws that show how different. I'll put it up for one more second here. How it shows the different ages and what they recommend, but that, like you said, doesn't mean that it's going to be the safest choice for your child just because that's what the law says.
That's correct. If we're always following best practice, which would be to keep your child rear-facing as long as possible, as long as that convertible car seat will accommodate them. Britex convertibles hold children up to 40 pounds rear-facing now. And the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends that children remain excuse me.
That's okay. I'm doing it all night.
Ride rear-facing through their 2nd year of life. Some studies and information that they released when they changed their recommendation from 1 year to 2 years was it showed that children are 5 times safer riding rear-facing. Through their 2nd year of life.
Wow. A lot of people have given a lot of resistance, and I'm like, they're changing those recommendations because it's saving babies, it's saving children, and explain to us a little, because there were a lot of questions that came in. In fact, let's answer one of the questions that came in regarding the whole second rear facing until 2. Let's see. I can't find the question now. Let's see. Okay. This is a question that came in. I like to answer questions. My audience goes, answer my question. How come you didn't get to mine? So I'm going to answer some questions here. Okay. So this question came from Melissa in Georgia. And Melissa said, what is the best age to rear face to? I want to extend rear facing, but I'm being told that it'll be too uncomfortable for my daughter once her legs get longer. I would rather that she were a little uncomfortable with her legs crossed than suffer in an accident. Very smart.
That's a very common question. We as adults tend to think that the children are uncomfortable or etc.
Yes.
The child, if you leave them rear facing, they will learn what to do with their legs that makes them comfortable.
Yes.
There's actually children that are riding rear facing as old as 4, even 5 years old, and they will cross their legs, crisscross them, pretzel cross them, however you want to refer to it.
Yep. Or hang them over the sides.
It becomes a natural habit for them.
Yes.
The thing that children really struggle with is if you turn them forward facing, then yes, they know what forward facing is, and they may have an interpretation that one is more comfortable than the other.
Right. So maybe
if you
harder
never
to go
turn them-
back.
Yeah, keep them rear facing. The other part of that is people get an impression that there will be leg injury from their feet touching the back seat,
Yes.
the back of the vehicle seat. And that's actually one of the reasons that caregivers will prematurely turn their child forward facing.
Yes.
Statistically, there is very few cases of leg injury reported from what we refer to as extended rear facing, or leaving these older children rear facing.
Yes.
The one thing to keep in mind is that any potential for a leg injury rear facing is medically repairable. When we turn a child forward facing too soon, their skeletal system is not fully calcified.
Yes.
They're very susceptible to what you and I as adults know as whiplash during a motor vehicle crash, because frontal crashes are the most common type of crash. That type of injury to a very young human body is can be life-threatening, and very often is not medically repairable.
Yes.
So leave them rear facing as long as that convertible car seat, which is the car seat, typically it's the car seat that most people buy, being their second car seat. They can use it rear facing, convert to go forward facing. And like I said, there's forward-facing seats. Britex seats go to 40 pounds. There is one on the market that goes to 45 pounds.
Yes.
There are several that go to 40 pounds. And that realistically can be a 3 to a 4-year-old child.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. My daughter is 7.5, and I think she's only 45 pounds right now. So technically, she could be sitting rear facing. I don't think she would if I begged her to, but
you're probably right.
Yeah.
You're probably right. Peer pressure would take over.
That's for sure. She'd be like, "What are you doing to me?" No, but I could see a 4 or 5-year-old, and she absolutely would have fit that criteria to be rear facing. And in other countries, they do. That's the requirement, isn't it?
Yes. For example, in Sweden, they rear face children until the age of 4.
Yes.
Their car seats and their vehicles are designed slightly different to
Yes.
accommodate those older children. They have a foot prop that comes out of the car seat and goes down to the floor.
Yes.
We Britex do manufacture car seats for Sweden.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we're not able to bring those seats here to the United States because the standard does not permit that foot prop as a method of attachment to the vehicle during certification.
I mean, look, forget rear facing. You got Florida here on the map that's telling you they only need to be in a car seat till the age of 3. That's
exactly.
I mean, forget rear facing. Yeah, it's pretty off. But we're used to this. We've been seeing this a lot in so many of the conversations that we're having about how in this country we're kind of not as safe as we should be with a lot of the laws regarding the health of our children. And that's what leaves it up to parents and educators like yourself and myself to really do the due diligence to make sure that we're doing the best for our children, because if we just rely on the law, it's not going to be there.
Very true, Sherry. And my fellow coworkers make fun of me sometimes, and on Monday mornings, they'll ask me if I assaulted anyone over the weekend. And I carry Safe Kids brochures and business cards in my car, and if I get out at a Walmart and see a poorly installed car seat or something that just gravely bothers me, I will leave all this information on their website, or I might even wait at my car for them.
Oh, that's actually one of the questions that came in was from a dad who watches our show. His name is Jason, and he's from Arkansas, and his question was, what is the best way to approach parents or grandparents that are complete strangers that you see with complete disregard for the child seat fitment or even the child restraint? Like, how would you walk up to a complete stranger? And I loved what you said, putting information on their windshield, or but is there any good way? I'm sure you've done it. I know I've done it. Is there any way to walk up to a stranger without them thinking that you're strange in some way, and making a recommendation or supporting them?
Well, for me, I'm in a little bit different position because I do have some training, and I can approach them from that perspective that I am a Safe Kids member, or I very rarely start off with I'm a Britex employee.
Yes.
Because I don't, when I'm in that world, as long as that child's in a car seat, they're much better protected. Right. But if you can get some information, if you're not a certified technician and you're just that caring other caregiver.
Yes.
Maybe create a Word document that, you go out and find information about your local Safe Kids.
Yes.
And how they might find out about seat checks.
Yes.
And you could have that paper in your car and approach them by stating, I noticed that you have a child who's not in a car seat, or, as a parent in my car seat, I'm really not sure that your car seat is installed correctly, and you might like this information. They could help you with your car seat.
Definitely. And now they can even give them a link to this program that we're creating tonight, huh? For them to watch.
Do that as well.
They can watch the show and get all the information. So there you go, right? You never know. You can walk up to people in Walmart or the supermarket now and say, I just watched this fantastic show last night. You might be interested.
Right.
Most people, what I find is that they're extremely grateful for the support. Because especially with the way that you approach them, but most people are extremely grateful to be supported because they may be thinking to themselves, I really don't know what I'm doing, and thank you so much for helping me. So, if you do see a child that's not strapped in properly, or that may be at risk, you're better off being careful and going over and gently saying something than not, and that would be my opinion. So.
Yeah, and don't be offended if they have a few unpleasant words for you.
Right.
Because
exactly.
I've had the whole spectrum.
Yes.
And at least even for those who do have the unpleasant words for me, when I walk away from that car, I at least walk away feeling like at least I tried.
At least you tried. Exactly. So, Sarah, what would somebody do if they're looking to make sure that they're getting the right car seat for their child based on the height and weight and age? On Britex, on the website, there is a way to, I know that I've done it, where I've been able to go on, put in the criteria that I'm looking for, and it will kind of spit out for me the different car seats that would be suitable.
Yes, on BritexUSA.com, we do have an area in our car seat selection area that you can enter the age of your child, and I believe it takes the weight of your child, even the height.
Yes.
And it will give you some options. So, for example, if you were to enter a 5-pound, 20-inch long baby, it would tell you or recommend the chaperone rear-facing only infant carrier. It would suggest the Be Safe rear-facing only infant carrier.
Yes.
And it might even suggest you convertible.
Yes.
Most caregivers will opt to use that rear-facing infant carrier because it snaps in the stroller and comes out of the car.
Yes.
But for those maybe who, especially in the current economic state, some parents are choosing to skip that stage and just buy that convertible because I'll get more longevity out of it.
That's very true. And so there's not. It's not that they're not safer. They when the weight recommendation says 5 or 6 pounds, then it's absolutely safe. The difference is that they just can't be removed from the car and be put into the stroller.
But yes, the primary difference between a rear-facing only infant car seat, which is that one that snaps in the base in the car, you put in the stroller, you can carry in the house, that has that huge convenience. A convertible car seat will remain always installed in the vehicle. Now, some convertibles do state a low weight. For instance, the Britex convertibles do start at 5 pounds.
Yes.
But depending on the torso length of that newborn child, even though that they're tested for the weight, that child may have a short torso.
Yes.
And you may not be able to achieve the appropriate harness height. So it's kind of like in my car seat class for expectant parents, I always ask parents, do you think that you can buy a pair of pants or an outfit today that will fit the baby when it's born and that it's going to fit the baby when it's 6? You know, and they all kind of laugh and say, of course not. And it's like, so, okay, realistically, to get the most optimum fit of a safety device, we really don't want to expect a safety device to fit a child from 0 to 6.
So what we're basically saying is that expect to move up in seats and that you're going to go through more than one car seat for the time that you're using a car seat with your child.
Yes, yes, most certainly.
Yep.
You know, there are car seats out there that are combination seats or 3-in-1, meaning that they go rear-facing, they go forward-facing, and they convert to a booster seat.
Yes.
And that may very well work for some people, but note that you may be making some fit compromises or feature compromises. And in reality, for all of those out there who are already parents, you know that you're probably not going to use the same car seat as it is for 6 or 8 years.
Yes, absolutely.
They're just going to get yucky from the kids.
Yeah, they get yucky in all kinds of fun ways. And that's one of the other things I love is being able to remove the padding on the Britex car seat so nicely to be able to be cleaned and washed. It's great. It's so much easier. I think that a lot of times people just think that, they'll just get the cheapest car seat that they can find. I've had a lot of questions saying, what's a more affordable car seat? And honestly, it's hard for me to give those recommendations when we talk about, diaper bags and when we talk about even strollers and other things. Yeah, those are the places where I would compromise and maybe save the money in other areas. When it comes to car seats, this is the one area that I would not make my choices based on the dollar amount. And I know Britex has different ranges that are still all really safe and so well made.
We do have different price points.
Yes.
And with the different price points, you either gain or lose features.
Yep.
Something that's very easy for that first-time caregiver or that first-time expectant parent to relate a car seat to. Because when you go to that baby store and you look at that car seat aisle, yes, there are car seats from every price point, starting at $40 up to $500, depending on what store you're in and what products they carry. Think about a car seat much like the car that you purchased, because we've all purchased a car, whether it's new, whether we purchase a brand new car or a used vehicle. It was new to us, and when we went to that car lot, we go with certain features in mind that we want for some reason.
Yes.
Whether it's side curtain airbags for safety, or it is electric seats because they're easier for me to adjust and position because so many people ride in my car.
Yes.
Or certain things for comfort. Well, when we add those things to that vehicle that we're purchasing, they add cost, and we pay more money for those things.
Yes.
Car seats are very much the same thing. Exactly like motor vehicles, they all have to pass the same safety standards, that bar of minimum requirements for the car seat to be able to be sold. And after that, it's adding ease of use features
yes.
Or safety features to that car seat.
Absolutely. So let's move forward a little bit into the actual, installation, or not installation, but properly strapping your child into the car seat. I think this is something that I would like to review a little bit, because we talked earlier about the harnesses not being too tight, and like you said, doing it till you feel guilty. we have a picture here. It's number 7, Taylor, if you'll pull that up for me. Of how tight the harness should be around the child's shoulders.
Okay. So when you tighten a harness around a child, regardless of whether they're rear facing or forward facing, if it has a harness in the seat, you to pull that harness tight enough that at the child's collarbone area, you're not able to vertically pinch any of that harness webbing between your fingers. And I say vertically because if I go horizontally left to right and I get my fingers out on the edges of that webbing, I could, forcefully pull it in.
Yes.
So just vertical pinch, no material. If you can pinch material, then tighten, pull on that harness a little bit more.
Is there any kind of criteria for how much of your fingers you should be able to slide between the strap and your fingers, or is that not recommended anymore?
That used to be, I'm going to call it old school.
Okay.
10 years ago, I was taught to check with fingers underneath the collarbone.
Yes.
But I'll bet that yours and you and Joe have different sized fingers.
Yes.
So if you were to put you were to put your child in the car seat, and you do the finger test at the collarbone underneath the harness, he's going to come along and think, or vice versa, he's going to do it, and you're going to say, that's still too loose because look at all the extra room I have.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense.
We've kind of gone to this in the industry, not just me, but in the child passenger safety curriculum. We've gone to this pinch test because it's pretty much the same, regardless of what size our fingers are.
Yes. Great. The other thing that I see often is, the chest plate just too low, like down at the baby's belly, and the straps can easily open up if that's the case. We got number 8 here, Taylor. So that's what it is. A chest plate is just that it should be up the chest clip.
Yep, the chest clip, or some refer to it as the retainer clip, should always be positioned at the armpit, baby nipple level. So you just think about armpit level, in that vicinity is where you want it to be. I mentioned earlier that about 60% of caregivers do not tighten their harness tight enough. When you have a loose harness, and on top of that you have a chest clip that's down on top of the buckle, in the event of a crash, we have the potential for the baby to come up and out between those harnesses.
Yes. I've showed that to parents before when they've, presented into the store or here with me in a consult, and I say, see how low down your chest clip is, and I'll open up the shoulder straps, and they can see that the baby would just fly right out in a car crash, and it's like, oh wow, it's what holds it together. So let's, I have a little video here that I'd like to show, and I wanted to let everybody know that Brightex has a fantastic library of instructional videos from installation to safety to removing the seats for cleaning to moving the straps. I was really impressed as I went through the videos myself, seeing just what a huge library they have in archives, and it's all on YouTube. So if you go to the brightexusa.com website, there's a section that, where is it, Sarah, on the website that they can go and see the videos? It's under...
well, if you go to installation guide, installation guides, and you pick your model of car seat, so maybe Marathon 70, and you put the manufacture date, it'll not only give you an option to open the PDF file for the that particular car seat. But there's also a little kind of, I don't want to call it a slideshow, but
Yes.
it incorporates video clips, and it has some additional verbiage that kind of goes step by step through the entire installation and securing the child.
Fantastic. And I would recommend anybody who purchases that car seat or any of the car seats that the first thing you do is go and watch the videos, all the videos relating to the car seat that you purchased, so that you learn what you need to learn about it. Sarah, if you hold on a minute, we're going to show the video for everybody.
Sure.
Okay.
Loosen the harness by pressing the harness adjuster lever while pulling both harness straps forward. Unbuckle the harness by pressing the red release button on the buckle and pulling the tongues from the buckle. Press the tab and pull apart the two halves to release the chest clip. Move the harness straps to the sides of the infant carrier. Place the child in the infant carrier as shown. Position the harness straps around the child. Buckle the harness straps by inserting one buckle tongue at a time into the harness buckle. Connection is confirmed with an audible click after inserting each buckle tongue. Always pull on the buckle to ensure the buckle is properly connected. Fasten the chest clip by sliding the two halves of the chest clip together until a click is heard. Gently pull up on the harness straps to tighten the lap section of the harness, which should fit low on the child's body. Slowly pull the adjuster strap to tighten the harness around the child. Note: snugly adjust the belts provided with this child restraint around your child. A snug strap should not allow any slack. It lies in a relatively straight line without sagging. It does not press on the child's flesh or put the child's body into an unnatural position. Position the chest clip at the center of the child's chest, level with the child's armpits.
Okay, fantastic. That's just one example of such a great video that Brightex put together in showing us how to properly secure an infant rear facing into it. That's the infant chaperone car seat. That's the one I have behind me here. So just an example of what you can find on the website. Let's go over to talking about installing the car seat properly. Oh, you know what? Actually, let's talk about harnesses. How high the harness should be in relation to the child. Yeah, I think they're asking about that in the chat room here. So I think on number 11, Taylor. We have a harness here that's too high. And so basically, what are we looking at, Sarah, when we're talking about where the harness should come in relation to the child's shoulders?
Okay, so when we're talking about a child rear facing, because it is different rear facing to forward.
Yes.
So rear facing, we always want the harness to come out of the car seat shell,
Yes.
either at the child's shoulders or slightly below it.
Okay.
So you'll never go to the next harness slot or the next adjustment position until the child's shoulders is even with it.
So that's for rear facing.
And then forward facing, it's the opposite. It's at or slightly above the child's shoulders.
Gotcha. Okay, that's a big difference. I think a lot of people don't realize that it changes whether you're looking at a rear facing or a forward facing.
Yes.
And I guess that would have to do with the way that the child would move in the event of a crash.
It does have to do with how the child slides and rear-facing what we call ramping up the back of the car seat.
Gotcha.
And then forward-facing, we need to hold their shoulders back and not roll the spine.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, in most collisions, you were saying that most collisions occur with a front impact. What happens in a side impact? And what is it about the Brightex car seats? Because I know that they talk about true side impact protection.
Yes. The most frequent type of crash is at frontal impact, and there's several rear impacts to the vehicle. And in those types of crashes, we either have our entire engine compartment or we have our trunk compartment that is designed in current motor vehicles to absorb energy deform, and deflect the energy away from the occupant compartment.
Right.
When you're in a side impact crash, we have little vehicle to absorb energy and protect us as adults, human bodies within that occupant compartment. So some of the features that we have in various Britex products, we use deep sides to the shell of the car seat.
Yes.
So that it helps to retain the child's body in that lateral left to right movement.
Yes.
During the side impact.
Yes.
It also helps to protect them from intrusion into the occupant compartment. Because remember, I just said that there's really not much car or much vehicle there to absorb and deform. We also use an EPP or EPS, that's expanded polypropylene or expanded polystyrene lining within the seat shell, again, to absorb energy, does make it a little more comfortable for the child. And then on many of our TSIP or true side impact products, we have that very defined U-shaped head restraint. And notice that I called it a restraint, not a headrest.
Yes.
Because it does restrain the head.
Yes.
It keeps your head, neck, and spine in vertical alignment
Yes.
during that lateral impact. The more you can keep those three major components of the human body in vertical alignment during that crash event, the less likely you are to sustain the more serious injuries.
Yes. That's what I love so much, especially when I look at the Britex car seats, is that true side impact head, you said, restraint. And I just always feel so much more comfortable. My children one is almost 10 and the other is 7.5. And, times when we've been on vacation using just a booster seat without the back or the head restraint, I felt so uncomfortable, like this is just not safe at all, almost like their head's up against the glass. There's just no protection at all.
And when you say heads against the, especially if they're sleeping.
Yes, exactly.
And if we go out and read the owner's manuals for our vehicles, especially those that have side curtain airbags, you will find warnings that say, do not sleep or rest against the pillars or the windows, because you'll then be in the deployment zone.
Oh, God. Yeah, tell that to a sleeping child.
You're
in the deployment zone. Get out.
Yeah. But, when we think about the backless boosters versus the high back boosters, again, they do meet that standard bar of safety, the backless boosters.
Yes.
But we want to ask ourselves when we're purchasing these items, does my child sleep in the car? Do I go on long trips where they sleep even more?
Yes.
Maybe do they, need extra lateral support?
Yes.
So these things that we call side impact protection and head restraint, while they do have a very positive safety feature, they have safety features in other ways, such as keeping your child properly positioned with the vehicle seatbelt and keeping them out of that deployment zone.
Yep. We actually have a video that we are able to locate on the true side impact protection, so I'm going to go ahead and show that one because I think that's really important for people to see.
Great.
Britex has created a rigorous testing regime that simulates side impact crashes based on proven European test methods. Britex car seats are evaluated on how well they contain the head and minimize head, chest, and pelvis acceleration.
The result of Britex's side impact crash testing is a combination of design features that best protect a child during a side impact collision. Britex calls this combination of design features true side impact protection.
Britex car seats with true side impact protection include these features. First, an energy-absorbing foam liner over a stiff structure to distribute crash forces. Second, side walls that shield the child from vehicle intrusion. Third, deep head wings and side wings for head and chest containment. And fourth, an adjustable head support to minimize side-to-side head movement during a crash.
The adjustable head support literally trues the head, meaning it keeps the head, neck, and spine aligned to limit injury. Britax believes it offers parents the safest car seats on the market throughout each stage of a child's development. We design our car seats to exceed the safety standards set by the federal government. We continually enhance our products with energy management features, such as our patented Versa Tether with crash indicator that reduces seat movement, our Hugs pads that reduce the movement of the child, and our convertible car seat bases that crumple in a crash to distribute forces away from the child. And we test our products both in our crash test facilities and through independent parties. Britax is proud of its industry leadership on true side impact protection, which has been part of our brand since 2002. We are committed to the continued evolution of this proprietary technology. Please remember that the safest car seat is the one that fits your child properly, fits your vehicle, and is used properly each and every time. Britax, safe for a reason.
All right. Awesome. Awesome. So Sarah, one of the questions that came in that I really wanted to address came from Tracy in Washington. And her question was, what is a good way to talk about car seat safety subject, the car seat safety subject with grandparents and others who want to travel with your child, but think that you're being overprotective? After all, it didn't kill them or their children. So what's your problem?
That is a very popular topic and question.
Yes.
Some of the very easy, quick, basic things to ask them is, how fast did their cars go when they were children? Because our cars go much faster today on our freeways, even on our public roads. We have many, many, many more cars on the roads today.
That's so true. That's so true.
And I would ask them, do you wear, they're wearing their seatbelt, hopefully, right? So they've progressed with technology as well.
Yes.
But it's usually the basics are, and you can get their attention by talking to them about the population and the cars on the road and the speed from then versus now.
Yes. This is not an overprotection issue. This is a safety issue. Just like you wouldn't let your child walk around a pool unattended, you wouldn't allow an infant to eat foods that they could choke on. I mean, these are all issues that we have to be extra careful. We can't take chances. Things happen in a split second and you can never go back. And I think that the answer to, and I've heard this myself, I have to say, from my own parents, is, you didn't wear seatbelts and you were fine. And my answer is, well, not everyone was fine. So thank God I was fine.
Yes, and we were lucky that we weren't in a crash.
Exactly. And like I said before, it's not about driving, it's about crashing. So we got away lucky.
Yes. And another quick thing they could do is take the child out to the car and show them, put them in the car seat and show them how the harness fits their body and touches the strongest parts of their body, their collarbone, their hip bone.
Yes.
And then just sit the child in a vehicle seating position and put the seatbelt on them and show them how it doesn't touch the strongest parts of their body.
Yes, absolutely. And I think as your child gets a little older too, to teach them the importance of why they're wearing the seatbelt, of why they're strapped into their car seat. So even when you're not in their presence and they're with a caregiver, they're insisting that the straps are done right. I think a child at a very young age can understand where the belt needs to be or where the chest clip needs to be.
Yes, and that all starts with the very first ride home from the hospital.
Yep, that's perfect. Perfect. Another question that's been coming up is about, especially as we're going into winter right now and it's cold out, the idea of wearing winter coats and snowsuits in relation to wearing our car seats and what's proper for that. The question came in from Tracy in Pennsylvania. She wanted to know, we don't have a garage, so my 1-year-old and my 5-year-old have to wear coats to the car. What's the correct way to put kids in their car seat with winter coats? I try to get them as tight as possible, but I still get nervous that they'll slip out. What are your recommendations with winter coats and other types of devices that help to keep the child warm?
That's a great question. The first thing that I would recommend, if possible, is the children have, I'm going to call them riding coats or car coats. And they're just very thin, some sort of insulated type coat, not necessarily a fleece coat, but they make some fabrics in current times that's very thin but very warm.
Yes.
Preheat your car if at all possible.
Mm-hmm.
To know if the coat is too thick,
Yes.
put your child in the car seat with the coat on. Pull the harness as tight as you think it needs to be. Don't adjust the harness, but take the child out, take their coat off, put them back in without the coat, and do the pinch test.
That's a great suggestion. It's so easy for someone to be able to do and see and make sure that they're doing it right. Perfect.
And so if you can, when you put them back in without changing that harness, don't tighten it or loosen it to get the child out. If you can pinch harness webbing, then that coat is too thick. It will compress in the event of a crash.
Gotcha. No, that's a great suggestion. Great suggestion.
Another suggestion is they can put, when they get the child out in the car and they take the coat off real quick, put them in their harness, and put their coat on backwards. Just let them slide their arms into the coat.
Oh, yes.
It's a little bit more work for us as caregivers, but once the car gets warmed up, they could then very easily drop it on the floor of the car.
So in other words, after they're already strapped into the car seat, slide their arms through so they're wearing it like a wearable blanket.
Exactly, like a Snuggie.
Like I was going to say, like a Snuggie.
Yeah.
We'll give a plug for Snuggie here. Oh, it's funny. Okay, great. Awesome. There was also a question that came... What, Joe?
No, a lot of people are asking about airplanes.
Oh, yes. So I'm going to get to that in a minute. The question was, when you're installing multiple seats, there was one person who, let's see, this is from Lauren. No, this is from Sonia in Michigan. She said, how do you fit multiple car seats in the back seat safely and comfortably? She has a newborn car seat and an infant car seat in the back seat up against each other, and they feel like they're not snug enough.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
That could simply be maybe trying to put one of the car seats in the center seating position. There's a lot of things that, and especially if they're buckling towards each car seat, you might not be tightening them tight enough.
Yes.
If the contour of that center seating position of the vehicle may be actually interfering with you being able to get a good installation.
Yes.
It sounds like she's definitely wanting to keep a child in the center.
Yes.
But a properly installed car seat in an outboard position is much safer than an improperly installed car seat in the center.
Gotcha.
So I would suggest trying that center car seat in an outboard position. See if you can get them both nice and tight from that perspective.
So basically what you're saying is that center seating is always safest, obviously, because you're going to have less intrusion on a side impact collision. But if you are not getting a tight enough seal or tight enough strap where the car seat is moving, then you're better off in the side position where it's more secure.
Yes, if you can achieve a tighter installation in an outboard seating position, meaning behind the driver or behind the front passenger, that is safer than a loose installation in the center.
Gotcha. Fantastic. What about when they're in like minivans or some of the SUVs where there's 3 rows of seating? Is it safe to put the child in the back of the minivan or the third seat or third row?
Some people have concerns about that because some of the SUVs or minivans have a much shorter storage area behind that third row seating.
Yes.
But I think it's important that we all remember that there's a level of safety that we all have to achieve, that the motor vehicles have to achieve, and they're meeting that.
Yes.
Again, we have the necessity and the need to transport our family.
Yes.
Versus this is where we're going to teeter with best practice the ideal situation versus reality.
Yes. No.
So they are certainly safe back there
Mhm.
in that third row.
Right. I was asking that question for myself because I've been doing it lately with my child. So I just wanted to make sure that we were properly installing our car seat for our daughter. But I assume that the latches are there. And that brings up the question of latch versus using the seatbelt for installation.
Yes.
There are most of the newer cars have the latch process where you can just use the little hooks that are in between the seats.
Yep.
And then others would need to be using the seat belts. The car seats are designed to be able to do both. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All car seats have to be able to be installed with Latch, which is an acronym for lower anchors and top tethers for children,
Mm-hmm.
or using a vehicle seat belt.
Gotcha.
All vehicles manufactured after September 1st, 2002, most of them are required to have 2 latch positions, meaning they have to have 2 seating positions that have the lower anchors, and then there'll be 3 seating positions that also have the top tether. Latch is not safer than a vehicle seatbelt, nor is a vehicle seatbelt safer than latch, as long as they're used within their direction. So many vehicles and many caregivers do not know that latch has a weight capacity of 40 or 48 pounds, and that weight capacity is dictated by the motor vehicle.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So
A lot of people do not know that, and that at that point they'd be safer using the car seat to use the seatbelt to strap the car seat in.
Well, yes, and by most car seat manufacturers, at 40 or 48 pounds, they are required to disconnect the latch and install it with the vehicle seatbelt.
Gotcha. And so they're not made to hold at that point.
Correct, and they're not tested, and the vehicle's not designed to accommodate that higher load.
Understood. What's safer for a child? Because I know with the Frontier seat, they can be in the 5-point harness till they're 85 pounds. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And so what's safer for them, the 5-point harness or at that point a seatbelt? What would you recommend?
Well, once they're done with that harness, when they outgrow the weight capacity of that harness, or they can no longer achieve the appropriate harness height,
yes,
they have 2 choices. They can convert it to a booster seat, belt
yes,
positioning booster,
yes,
or they can move into the vehicle seat belt. Now, what's really going to be a determining factor here is, do they fit in the vehicle seat belt appropriately? So when they sit in the vehicle seat, their feet need to touch the floor of the vehicle. Their knees need to bend at the edge of the vehicle seat.
yes.
The back of their lower back area needs to be all the way against the vehicle seat back. If their feet don't touch the floor, they're going to slouch so that their feet will.
Gotcha.
So then at that point, the lap belt, which should be resting low across their hip bone, is going to slide up into their stomach.
Gotcha.
The shoulder belt should come diagonally across the center of their chest and make contact with their collarbone. So when they slouch down to touch the floor, that seatbelt rides up into their abdomen. During the event of a crash, those act like a knife to the internal organs, causing internal injury.
And should the seatbelt be locked when you're putting it across a child that age?
If you need to lock the seatbelt, that child is probably not ready to ride in a seatbelt. If you're having to lock it to keep the child in place.
I just was wondering if it's safer to lock it or to keep it unlocked and allow it to lock on its own in the event of a impact.
They are designed to lock themselves during the impact. If you actually go to many vehicle manuals, you will find direction that says, do not lock the retractor in booster mode, and also do not lock it when you're just using it as a seatbelt.
Excellent.
So
okay, great.
I would have to say from that perspective, they're telling me not to do it for a reason. It's
Yes.
probably not considered safe.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Interesting. We have another video real quick that I want to show. This is latching a forward-facing convertible car seat in a forward-facing position. So we're going to watch that for a moment here. Let's see. This was actually an actual question. So let's ask the question. It was from Melissa in California, and she wanted to know, can you explain why you need to replace the car seat in the event of the car being in a fender bender versus a big accident?
Okay, it has to do with a change in velocity or a change in speed. Many of us don't know as well that, let's back up from that, car seatbelt systems,
Yes.
if they are occupied during a crash, you should have your insurance or your auto repair shop replace your seatbelt system. The seatbelt webbing will stretch. It's kind of like an elastic that only stretches out. It doesn't go back.
That makes sense. Yep.
So in our car seat, we have seatbelt webbing, which is similar. That's our harness system, as well as depending on that change in speed or change in velocity. So are we going 70 and we hit a barrier, or we hit another car?
Yes.
And we, they apply forces to the seat shell, and those forces can cause what we call hidden damage, hairline fractures, things that we physically can't see.
Yes.
But they could affect the performance of that seat.
And you're not going to know until you actually need it to work.
Exactly. If you think about a car seat much like an airbag, they are intended to perform one time.
Yes.
And if they perform one time, they've done their job. Now, California, as well as I think there's one other state out there, insurance companies are actually required to replace your car seat in the event of a crash.
Okay.
In any state, I encourage you, if you're involved in a crash, make sure that your crash report indicates you had a child in a car seat. And many insurance companies, regardless of state, if you push it with them, they will more than likely replace your car seat.
That's
in your
great to
claim
know. Yes.
Because they don't really want to risk
No,
your child's
no.
life.
That's great for people to know, so they know what their rights are and that they should ask. A lot of people probably wouldn't know to even think about it.
Yeah, if
Fantastic.
make sure it's on the police report and ask the insurance company.
Fantastic. With the holidays upon us, a lot of people are going to be doing a lot of traveling, and the questions coming up in the chat room about traveling with your car seat for air travel, and then the question I want to cover is about how not to use or borrow a car seat from a rental car company.
Okay, so airline travel, even though the Federal Aviation allows children under the age of 2 to be a lapped child, I strongly encourage, if at all possible, every member of your family have their own airplane seat, and you are able to use your car seat, especially for those children under 40 pounds.
Yes.
Very, very important. You will find on the side of the car seat a statement in red that says this child restraint is certified for use in motor vehicles and aircraft if it is approved for aircraft use.
Yes. Okay, great. Yeah, and you know, you got to understand that here we are strapping ourselves into the seat, and then our children are loose. Even with some bad turbulence, that child could fly out of your hands, hit the ceiling. I mean, there's a lot of things that can happen. You've got to be careful with that, just as dangerous as being in a car without the seat and strapped in. Really, this was so fantastic, so informative. I have no words for what this will do for so many people.
Well, thank you again, Sherry, for the invitation, and I hope we can do it again soon.
We absolutely will do it again, and we will come back with more information so people can continue to be as safe as possible and learn everything they can. Like you said, it changes so frequently, we have to keep them updated.
We do.
Okay, excellent. Well, have a happy holiday, and we'll talk soon, Sarah.
Thank you.
Thanks for being with
everyone.
us.
Thanks for joining.
Thank you. Bye. And for all of you guys out there, we have come to the end of our show. I love you guys.